Joining me today is Nancy West, who is the founder of the New Hampshire Center for Public Interest Journalism. So Nancy, we talked about sort of the creation of that nonprofit that you do. And I'm really sort of interested how a nonprofit works. I know that you probably have a little bit of advertising space because you have sort of the website, which is, correct me if I get this wrong, but it's, I don't have
indepthnh.org.
I would have gotten it wrong. indepthnh.org.
Yes.
And so that's sort of a landing page for New Hampshire news.
Yes.
And there's a little advertising, but that can't pay the string of reporters you have. And so you must accept donations. And I know you got a $50,000 grant to cover the North Country. I'd like to just talk a little bit about what it's like running a nonprofit, trying to do the news, and sort of the challenges there.
Yeah, well, it's all been a learning experience for me. And that's why when I suggest to people to come volunteer with us, it's really very challenging, but interesting. And I get to stretch myself in ways that I never could as a reporter, building a business. The first step is to get notified by the IRS that you are a legitimate 501c3 charity. And all that paperwork's been done. It was much simpler than I thought. Next is raising the money. And I must say, of all the jobs the many hats I wear, this is my worst hat. I really am just learning how to do the fundraising. And we probably wrote, we run very similar to the public radio, public TV model. We take donations. We look for major donors, people who are interested in making sure the future of journalism has a chance, has at least a shot to survive in New Hampshire. And we also sell ads and underwriting, which are tax deductible to the person or the business who's doing the ads. Our first advertiser that jumped in was Northeast Delta Dental. They've been very supportive of us and have just signed on for 2017 again. And we probably wrote 11 grants that were just practice grants because we didn't get them. Many grantees want to see a year of financials. They want to see that you're not just a good idea and that you're going to skedaddle, when things go awry or you don't get the kind of money that you want.
That you have the grit to survive.
Though we got the grit. If we don't got nothing else, we got grit. And also we have a good model. I did a very good business plan before we even started that shows we can do this in New Hampshire. We can raise the money needed to make sure that we can do the job that needs to be done. And what do? We augment the news of other news outlets. We give our stories away.
So any news outlet in the state of New Hampshire or nationally could say, I like what they've done in this reporting. It's free to me to use?
Not only that, I email it out to them if I think it's something they might be interested. Many, like the Nashua Telegraph, is interested in stories either statewide or might have a Nashua bent. And Seacoast Online might have a different thing that they're interested in. Keene Sentinel.
You're like a New Hampshire-centric AP.
We are free and better stories, in-depth, not better, but AP does a heck of a job, and I feel so bad about what's happening even at AP. That was a once vibrant news group. Now they're down to, I think, 2 reporters, and they just laid off their only full-time photographer, who is like a legend in New Hampshire, Jim Cole. He was just laid off last month, and I don't expect 2017 to be a better year financially.
So you're filling that vacuum really for every citizen in New Hampshire.
Yes.
And the organizations that provide the news.
Yes, and we do a daily roundup where I link to all the other news outlets that I can find. And we don't really benefit from that, but people can click on those stories and go back to the original site. So they might go back to the Keene Sentinel to read the whole story. Our mission is to help buoy all of the outlets. We don't want to be the last guy standing. We want to make sure that every voice from all of the wonderful news outlets, and if you live in New Hampshire, there are many great newspapers.
Yeah, so we still have a lot of local newspapers.
We still do, and they need some help, I believe.
And they got to be struggling.
The ones that I know of are, and seriously struggling, that the kind of stories we usually do I try not to look at, I try to look and see what is being well covered. Right now, there's a couple of legislative issues, right to work, and just a couple of gun
the gun issue,
issues.
yeah, that's
the
well
gun
covered.
issues. They're going to have 4 or 5 news outlets doing stories on those.
So don't worry about that.
So I don't do that unless I see a bigger picture, maybe that isn't that they don't have time to cover.
Right, and speaking of the bigger picture, I've got to go to a commercial break. When we return, we're going to continue our conversation focusing on news stories, so please stay with us.